So the Al Jazeera narrative says the opposite. It blames the Ashkenazis for turning the Israeli public against the Arabs. This is not true. This is just the opposite is the truth. Historically, the Ashkenazi Jews have been those who are the moderates. They're the ones who want to compromise with the Arabs, tried to get together with the Arabs. Even now, the peace dealers, those who want to link up with the Arabs or come to terms with the Arabs or give in to the Arabs, are usually, not always, but usually Ashkenazim, lovey-doveys in the European style. Even the most ideologically prominent amongst the Ashkenazi leaders had traces of inclinations along these ways. David Ben-Gurion, he was the first prime minister of the state of Israel. And before then, he was a leading political and ideological figure. In fact, all his life, he was such a personage. He was known, he was revered. Even people who disagreed with his politics revered on him, listened to him, quoted him. And he did a lot of good things. He helped establish the state of Israel. But nevertheless, he had the idea that the Bedouin, that is, some of the Arabs who are less civilized, and the other Arabs, some of the other Arabs were descendants of Jews and ancient Israelites and Canaanites who have been forced to become Muslim, and that they should be encouraged to convert to Judaism. Rabbi Shlomoh Goren, who at that time was the Chief Rabbi of the Israeli army, of the IDF, later became the Chief Rabbi of all of Israel. At that time he was the Chief Rabbi of the IDF. He was asked by Ben-Gurion to prepare a program to convert the Bedouin. And the steps were put in place along these lines, but nothing came of them. Possibly because it was realized that the Arabs did not want it, would not be amenable to it, and that it would cause problems. But at all events, this is what happened. This phenomenon existed. And even now we have a slight right-wing group in Israel, a right-wing group in Israel associated with the so-called Sanhedrin movement. And they also believe that many of the Arabs are descended from Jews, and they want to persuade the Arabs to become Jews, and in that way to bring about peace in the Middle East. I'm not joking, they actually believe this and have attempted to do something about it. And they have a lot of money behind them, and they have people who believe in it, who are fanatically devoted to it, and they have some influence. And we ourselves are reserved about this. We don't believe in it, but we're not antagonistic to it either. It's just something that's worth our while getting involved with it. It's worth noting. In our opinion, the best bet for the Jewish people is to realize that the lost 10 tribes are amongst Western nations, amongst Western peoples, and that this needs to be made known. And therefore, Brit-Am, our organization, should be supported, should be encouraged, should be enabled to do more than it is doing. And people should realize this truth and help spread the message. And learn the message themselves, and learn the message themselves and internalize it. This is the solution. The Al Jazeera narrative that we are using as a framework to base talk upon. Quotes from Zev Jabotinsky, an early Zionist leader in the 1920s and later, and early 1930s, and Jabotinsky said that only force could impose Zionism. He was an avid nationalist, And he, according to Al Jazeera, he believed that the Palestinians could be beaten into accepting the reality of colonization, that at that time was respectable amongst European peoples, a portion of them. You had the concept of settler colonial reality that was being attempted by the French in Algeria and in North Africa and elsewhere, and also in portions of the British Empire. And it was a going thing. Since then, it has failed nearly everywhere, but it was a going thing. You cannot say it failed nearly everywhere because before then it had helped the USA come into being, helped establish Canada and Australia and other places of importance that have changed the present world for the better. At all events, they quote Jabotinsky as having espoused notions of establishing the Zionist movement along the lines of colonialism. This is not exactly true, but this is how they present him. Actually, Jabotinsky spoke of having a country, hopefully with a Jewish majority, but in which Christians and Muslims and Jews would be side by side. So we do not necessarily agree with him on this, but this is what he believed. Even though it was important, it was never instrumental. It was always in a minority. The majority of the Israeli public did not identify with him at that time. Israeli politicians in the mainstream and also on the left wing treated him as anathema. It was only when Menachem Begin and the Likud party in 1977 came to power that the image of Jabotinsky was changed for the better, was rehabilitated. But before then, even though Jabotinsky had always been respected, very little of what he advocated had actually been put into effect, even though this narrative of Al Jazeera is presenting him as having laid the lines down, set the law at the very beginning. They also say that in this present conflict, 40,000 Arabs in Gaza have been killed, most of them women and children. So this is a gross exaggeration, a very gross exaggeration. But it doesn't really matter because the principle remains that the Israelis have been defending themselves. The Israelis have suffered from a wicked attack upon them. Their women have been raped, their babies killed, their children killed, their men killed, their citizens taken into captivity and tortured and mistreated, and they still are captives with Hamas, and Hamas is not returning them, trying not to return them. And if it could, would take more, go on taking them, and also it's filmed itself committing atrocities against them, and uses as a strong point, because amongst many of the heathen, the non-Israelite peoples, doing bad things to Jews gives you popularity, and they knew it, so they put it up on the web. Video clips of what they were doing. They're probably still there. And that is what started the war. That is what started the problem. The problem could be solved tomorrow if Hamas would give back the captives and cease hostilities against the Jewish people. We also have the Hamas founding covenant of 1988 that spoke of murdering the Jews, massacring Jews everywhere, all over the world, not only Israel, but all over the world. And this was part of what they believe in. And they want to do this everywhere. They want to bring Islam to all the world by force if necessary, however they can. And they're trying to do that in parts of Britain. And wherever they are exerting their influence, exerting their power, using force, using violence, victimizing the weak, victimizing women, victimizing passers-by, declaring areas where they have a majority in European cities as their own territory. And this is a problem everywhere. And this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing as a minority. Imagine what they're going to do or will do or have done when they have been a majority, when they have been able to do more. The aims of Hamas are the complete destruction of Israel and the establishment of a theocratic state based on Islamic law, Sharia, unrestrained and unceasing holy war to attain the above objective, and also establishing Islam not only in Israel but throughout the world. Disdainful and dismissal of any negotiation, resolution, or any political settlement which they had to accept that was not in accord with their aims is to be dismissed, abrogated, nullified, and only used temporarily. And this throughout Islamic history, they've resorted to this nullification process. And also they adopt historical anti-Semitic tropes and legends and stories and calumnies and sinister conspiracy theories. The worse the better, the wilder the better, the more sinister the better. And they are like the Nazis were, or in some ways even worse. Who are the main supporters of Hamas? So we should go on. Who are the main supporters of Hamas? Muslim extremists and oppressors of other people throughout the world. In South Africa is a major combatant on behalf of Hamas, on behalf of the Palestinians. South Africa, groups of black people, whole crowds, enormous crowds of black people get together in political gatherings. Tens of thousands of them, they sing a song, kill the white farmers, kill the Boers. That is the white men. They attack them. They attack the farmers. They attack white people. In China, they are committing cultural genocide against millions of Turkish speakers, relatively white Muslims. And the rest of the other Muslims don't care. All the lovers of Muslim people don't care. Only when the Muslim white victims are Palestinians is the whole world aroused. Only when they can use that as an excuse to attack the Jews, to people relate to them. The Palestinians were anywhere else were being treated 100 times worse than the Israelis treat them. No one would care. You would never hear about them. Only because the Jews are involved. There's so much noise being made concerning them. Then you have black Africans who are being murdered and enslaved by other black Africans who have some Arabic blood and speak the Arabic language and consider themselves superior because they are, in their eyes, Muslims, Arab Muslims, versus the inferior black people. Even though on the color basis there isn't much to choose between them. This is a reality, and no one cares. Or people care very little, don't even know about it. If you know about that, you'd never internalize it. This is what we have. And in many cases, what Israel is accused of being is in effect an extrapolation from what they intend to do to the Jews, to an extrapolation from what they think should be done to the Jews, is how they describe the Jews as doing to them or as doing to the Arabs. And anti-Semites throughout the world are all like that. That is a problem. We should realize it and wake up to it. And friends of Israel in the West include USA, and they realize that Israel is a victim, not the perpetrator of vicious attacks, and also realization that they may be next in line. And in some cases in the West, they already are. The line has already got up to them. Jews are not necessarily more white than many of the Arabs, but the Jews are considered white, the representative of white, of the bogey man, the white man, against the coloured world. And all the coloured world is united against them. And also a good portion of the white world is also united against the Jews. They want to destroy the Jews, because the Jews believe in the Bible. The Jews are testimony to the truth of the Bible. Destroy the Bible and you remove belief in the Jewish God. Destroy the Jews and you destroy knowledge of the Bible. War against the Jews is war against God. This is what we have to realize and face up to, take account of. And what is needed is a national revival, and spreading the knowledge, lost and troubles amongst Western peoples, and helping us spread this knowledge, and helping us to do research, confirming it, and deepening awareness of it, and persuading those who need persuading, because persuasion, the means of persuasion exists. The facts are there. The facts are there. The facts support us. We have to get them out to people, get them out to others. And also we ourselves have to become more aware of them, deeper appreciation of them. And all this requires the support of others to identify with us and to help us in this, according to their ability. Another point is that we are drawing closer to the end times. At some level, what we are what we are saying now is an instinctive awakening of primeval forces, of natural instincts. Those who descend from Israel tend to support the Jews, be sympathetic to the Jews, want to help the Jews, or at least not go against them. Whereas those who belong to the other side, to the forces of evil, to Esau and Ishmael and Gog and Magog, and all the other villains throughout history, they too are experiencing an arousal. They want to kill the Jews. They want to wipe the Jews out, because the Jews represent the forces of God. The Jews represent the Israelite nation, and the Jews are identified as Hebrews, as Israelites. Thank you. May the Lord God of Israel bless you and help all of us.